to Hillsborough.
Welcome back to another video. I am on a Portland Max Blue Line train westbound to go ride one of America's silliest commuter rail systems. And it's all integrated into the regular fare network. It doesn't cost any extra to ride it. Let's go for a ride. Beating the cars, that's crazy.
Westbound Blue Line train to Hillsborough. WES dirección oeste a Hillsborough.
All right, so what are we doing here? Well, I'm at Beaverton Transit Center, which is the northern terminus of the WES commuter rail system, which is really, really, really weird. I did a video on the Denton A train. I'm not exactly sure how long ago. I released these things out of order, so couldn't tell you. But when I did my video on the Denton A train, I commented that it was weird that it ended at a light rail station. Well, so does this one. Except it's even weirder, and hopefully we'll get to see why that is. So the first thing I need to do is actually just make my way over to where the train starts, which is on this completely separate platform over here on the other side of this transit center. This is the platform right here. And even I didn't expect that. Is there even a buffer there, or is that just a pile of gravel and rock? It would be really funny if it were just a pile of rock. But it's fully integrated with the rest of the fare system. And this is the platform where we will be catching this train in about 30 minutes. Unfortunately, I just missed one. My light rail train, if it had arrived 5 minutes ago, I could have caught this train 5 minutes ago. But alas, it did not. So we're waiting another half hour. This thing only operates on peaks, so I think there's only like 4 or 5 more trips after this, and the trip before this one was the earliest one that there was, I think. But yeah, unlike the Denton A train, which runs all day, this is a true commuter train. It doesn't run very much, but yeah, all I have to do is be back here in 30 minutes. And I don't know, maybe I'll find something to do. Something to eat, maybe. It's a good way to pass the time, right? Well, here's our first look at it as it comes in on its northbound trip. I guess we'll be getting on this vehicle. That is pretty weird looking, isn't it? And look, it's clearly designed to be part of a larger consist, but it's not. All right, here we are. Also, that is a pretty good taco truck. All right, this thing's not due to leave for a little while yet, so we're not going to get on quite yet, but I need to be ready when it does get ready to leave. All right, we still got 20 minutes. I'm gonna sit here and drink the soda that I got from the taco stand. I'll get on the train in like 10 minutes. All right, let's do this. Train's gonna leave in a little over 10 minutes, but let's get on board. What's wild about this setup is that the awkward street running portion of the line, which you might guess is what survived of some legacy interurban or something, was actually purpose-built by TriMet in 2007 to enable a connection to the light rail that otherwise couldn't have existed based on the freight rail alignments they were working with. I guess it works. It's certainly very unorthodox, and trains are limited to 10 miles an hour on this segment. And this starting setup is so weird. I guess it's a little more normal now.
Transit Center. Doors to my left.
Puertas a mi izquierda.
No, at least so far. This is kind of a silly system, but it works. Like, it actually works. See how it almost makes sense. Also, the announcement saying doors on my left. That's kind of an interesting touch. I guess it kind of is clearer than doors on the left, especially since
the doors are closing.
Going backwards right now. So, is the left that side or is it that side? Well, if the train's front is that way, then its left is that way. So that makes sense to me. So, not bad. Also, almost missed that bus bay there. So as far as commuter trains go, it's pretty standard. No outlets anywhere. Very standard seating. It's nice and padded though. I'm not sure if that's a great idea. I know that there's a lot of skeptics about padded seats, or at least cloth seats anyway, because they're harder to clean. I guess that doesn't matter on commuter rail, but this one is the same price as everything else, so it's not like there's like a fare differentiator or anything. But that said, I haven't seen any antisocial behavior on transit all day yet, so maybe TriMet has that under control. I don't know.
To Wallerton. Doors to my right.
Puertas a mi derecha.
Huge fan of the fact that there's so many parking lots near the station, but I'll give them a little bit of credit, like partial credit, for the fact that it's not a standalone parking lot that's only used for the station. It's sort of built in to the commercial properties that are near the station, so that way even if you're walking to one of the destinations, there's still a destination there, and you're more or less using its parking lot rather than there being land set aside specifically for the parking lot for the station, which is a huge improvement. I will have to give them that much. One thing I will say is, as I look around at the urban planning of Portland, you can definitely just feel that there is priority on pedestrian access everywhere. It's clearly a big deal to them, and pretty much everywhere, even deep in suburbia, feels so much more accessible than strode hell that you see everywhere else. It's really incredible, actually. They've got some good urban planning people around here. They're doing some good work, even where it's not the densest, even where there's parking lots, even when there's strip malls. It is clearly better than what I've seen in a lot of other places. Anyway, we have one station left before the end of the line. Here we go. We're almost here. Now, after I get off, I'm simply going to stand on the platform, tap my card again, and get back on. Because I want the next trip up, which is in 10 minutes. So, not going to get to explore Wilsonville too much, but we'll at least get to do the train. What in the world is that? Trinity Railway Express. What's that doing here? In 2017, TriMet purchased these vintage 1950s cars from Trinity Railway Express. Yes, the one in Texas, hoping to use them as spares whenever their own vehicles were out of service and to eventually keep up with what we now retrospectively know was wildly optimistic hopes of growing ridership.
Cuidado por el espacio.
All right, well, here we are at the other end. There's some local buses. I guess Wilsonville's not part of TriMet. Well, I guess I'm just going to tap my card and get back on. Well, I figured while I was here waiting, I would get myself one of these just for my own personal use. I always try to collect transit cards. I'm going to take it up to, what is it, Tigard, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce that. We'll find out when we get there. Because also, I wasn't paying attention when they pronounced it on the way down. I'm only going to go up that far. And I'm going to actually catch a bus out of that transit center. Rather than going all the way back up to Beaverton. And that's just because I have another video I want to film, and that's best to get off there for that. But anyways, yeah, I won't leave it off until we get there. But let's go. We're leaving right on time. Despite all the things that I've said about this service, such as how actually pretty reasonably nice it is, and how it doesn't actually feel as dumb as people make it out to be, it arguably isn't worth the cost. Because it only gets a couple of hundred riders a day. So, I mean, it's not surprising operating one-car train sets, but I mean, it's definitely a nice service to have, but I'm not necessarily sure it's the most cost-effective service to have. I mean, it's only been around since 2009, but it's definitely debatable whether it should exist or not. It very much feels like it's trying to be like an interurban train, except operating with operating costs. And it's like, with the ridership this thing gets, I mean, you could just run like a couple of buses. And I mean, they spent over $100 million on this, building this. And it's like, at that point, I'm not sure if you should have, you know? Like, the number of cars it takes off the road is not that much. And it costs a lot to operate. So, in that sense, you could definitely make the case that this is kind of a little bit of a, I don't know what you call it, but anyways, I mean, as I'm writing it, it doesn't seem so silly, but maybe it's my romanticized view of transit. Just looking at it soberly, the construction cost, which was also over budget, was $161 million. I did some back-of-the-envelope calculations that showed you could have afforded to run express buses fare-free all day, every day for over 100 years, including all capital costs, rather than have done this. Even the train's absolute peak pre-pandemic ridership of about 2,000 per day is certainly still within the realm of a bus-sized problem, and more frequent buses would almost certainly be more useful. And ironically, TriMet is cutting service by 10% very soon due to them starting to run into their own post-pandemic fiscal cliff. And yet, the WES is not on the chopping block, probably in part because if they shut it down now, they'd have to return a lot of federal grant money they used to build it. Now, interestingly, I compared this train to the Denton A train at the beginning of the video because they both force a light rail transfer. Though it does have the advantage of running consistent 30-minute frequencies all day, making it much more useful than the WES, it actually has eerily similarly poor cost-benefit numbers. So I'd probably have to revise my at-the-time cursory evaluation of the A train to likewise calling it a bit of a luxury product. All right, well, with that, I will leave it off. It's a bit loud. Hopefully you can hear me. But anyways, let's leave it off there. Hopefully you enjoyed my little ride on the WES. Definitely a pretty weird service, and it looks like they very clearly have extra rolling stock that they're not using. And the ridership is pretty low. And it ends at a light rail station. But honestly, I don't hate it. I really can't hate it. But maybe that's just because I'm not looking at the finances of the thing. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.